What's up, guys? We're back for another week of best bets and props, this time for UFC Las Vegas 50, Ankalaev versus Santos. Should be a fun card. There's a ton of closely contested fights. From a gambling perspective, there's a lot of even money picks on this card, a lot of pick'em spots, some lines that have flipped, a lot of underdogs that I see coming through. So without further ado, I've got a lot of spots to go through. I'll try to be concise and start off with Sodiq Yusuff on the money line. Right now at like minus 250 is what you can get him at. I know that he started off a little bit cheaper than that. Now it's closing closer to minus 300, I would assume. But minus 250, I would bet or better on Sodiq Yusuff to beat Alex Caceres. Like I mentioned in my full card breakdown the other day, I love Alex Caceres. He's one of my favorite fighters. Entertaining guy, flashy striker, great jiu-jitsu, and just a fun character who's been around for a while. I'm beyond excited to see him on a 5-fight win streak. I hope he makes it 6, but from a betting perspective, I think Sodiq Yusuff is a more powerful guy, the more dangerous guy. I think he's just younger, more talented, and coming off of a loss, I think he's going to come back better and just be too physically imposing at 145 to succumb to the grappling of Alex Caceres. And Alex Caceres has not been a threat on the feet for pretty much his entire career. So give me Sodiq Yusuff minus 250 on the money line. Moving on to an underdog pick here, Aj Fletcher. He opened up at a little north of plus 200. You could get him even on Monday at like plus 200. By Wednesday, it was already down to plus 180. I got it around plus 190. I would bet this anywhere from plus 180 and better. So if you got in on this one early, I'd say that's where I would actually take this underdog stab. At plus 200, you're giving this guy who's an undefeated prospect, young, very athletic, seems to have a good array of just a general MMA skill. At plus 200, you're giving him a 33% chance to beat a guy who we've seen in the octagon about 3 times. But only about 3 rounds worth. We saw him lose to Chaos Williams in a 3-round fight decisively. We saw him get 2 easy one-hitter quitter knockouts around that fight. So we haven't seen a whole lot of him. He looks, don't get me wrong, I like Matt Semelsberger. I think he's a very skilled guy. But if you're going to give me a guy who, I've seen more of on the regional scene, I've seen kind of what he has to offer compared to Matt Semelsberger, I think this should be lined a lot closer. And I see a lot of value on Aj Fletcher coming in with a lot of momentum, a guy who's already been humbled on the regional scene in his amateur career. He's undefeated professionally, but amateur, he had 2 losses, so he was able to taste defeat, come back. He seems like a very smart, cerebral fighter, very physically imposing, and I think he will close the distance and take out Matt Semelsberger. So at plus 180 or better, I like that bet. The next one is another money line pick as an underdog, Trevin Jones. If you get him at plus 125 or plus 130, I like those numbers for a guy who comes in with a slew of experience advantage over Javid Basharat, who's making his official UFC debut. Basharat, undefeated guy on the regional scene. Very, very sketchy competition. He came in against another undefeated guy with even sketchier competition under his belt on Dana White Contender Series. Exposed that guy for the fraud that he kind of was. And now he's stepping up the biggest test of his career by far for Javid Basharat is Trevin Jones. Trevin Jones has a pretty lackluster record, but he's faced nothing but absolute killers. I mean, making his debut against Timur Valiev and knocking him out in a huge upset. Coming back as another underdog against Mario Batista, knocking him out. Slipping up against Rakhmonov in his last fight. Not Rakhmonov. What's the guy's name? That's going to bother me. Hold on. Kakramanov, that's the guy's name. It just came to me. All these Ovs are getting mixed up in my brain here. But yeah, so he lost to him. We kind of saw that, Trevin Jones does need to work on his gas tank a bit, especially when he goes for these high grappling fights. But I don't think he's going to have an issue here against Javid Basharat. I think his crafty striking is powerful. He's got very powerful hands for being such a small, light fighter. I think he'll find the mark on Javid Basharat and get him out of there somewhere inside the distance. I like Trevin Jones as underdog just based on the experience alone, the power alone. I think this is a big step up for Javid. So give me Trevin Jones at plus 125 or plus 130. I think I managed to get him at the top of that at plus 130. I'm not sure where that line's going. It might still be getting better. So Another money line pick that I like, but I want it as a live bet more than on the money line, and that is Song Yadong taking on Marlon Moraes. Right now, Song Yadong is a pretty sizable favorite over Marlon Moraes, and I think it's very warranted, but there's still that danger threat of Marlon Moraes in round 1. So if Song Yadong can stay safe and escape round 1, we know that Marlon Moraes' gas tank has looked pretty horrible after round 1. So if Marlon Moraes does what he does and looks pretty intimidating, pretty dangerous in round 1, and then in between rounds 1 and 2, you can get actually a better number on Song Yadong, somewhere better than -200 or something like that. Then I would take the stab on it there. At the risk, of course, just like last week with Colby Covington and George Masvidal, we never got that opportunity to live bet Colby Covington last week because he did so well in round 1 that he was like a -500, on the next round. So we lost that bet. Or we lost the opportunity to even place a bet on that fight. That could happen here. Song Yadong could look amazing from the get-go in round 1, and then he's an even bigger favorite on the live market come round 2. But that's the way that I would play this. I would look for Marlon to, kind of suppress that number of Song Yadong a bit, make it a cheaper, closer to like a -170 or something like that. If we're lucky, then I would place that bet on Song Yadong, a live bet between rounds 1 and round 2. Moving on to some props that I like Azamat Murzakanov and Tafon Nchukwi. I like that fight does not go to decision. I see that at -170 -175 is where I got that at. Azamat Murzakanov has actually never been to a full 3-round decision. He's got like a 2-round decision on his scorecard. Otherwise, on his record, Otherwise, he's got a lot of really fast finishes. Very powerful guy. Not the biggest 205er, but he closes the distance. It really pushes the action. So I think that Tafon Nchukwi could also contribute to that under 2.5, or that, like I placed the bet, fight doesn't go to decision. I looked for an under 2.5. I couldn't really find one. I know they have the over-under set at 1.5 on most books. But fight doesn't go to decision. I like at -175. I think there's a great chance of that at 205. One of these guys' gas tanks might fail. One of their chins might fail. I think they can both contribute to that under. I know that Tafon Nchukwi looked like a finisher in Cage Fury Fighting Championships and the Dana White Contender Series. Hasn't had that opportunity in the UFC so far, officially, to get a fight that doesn't go to decision. But I just think he hasn't had a willing dance partner. I think Azamat Murzakanov is that willing dance partner, and I think this fight does not go to decision at -175. The next fight that I like, Semelsberger and Aj Fletcher, under 2.5 rounds at -170. Both guys, power punchers. I'm surprised that this price isn't. I saw this on Bovada Sportsbook. I know the over-under is actually set at over-under 1.5 for this fight. I got it under 2.5. It gives a lot of time for these two 170-pounders to go in there and finish each other off. So you see AJ Fletcher with a lot of submissions, club and sub submissions, some knockouts. Semelsberger, of course, 2 very quick knockouts in the UFC already. So I'm surprised this was not marked higher. Maybe this will raise, but currently on Bovada Sportsbook earlier today, I was able to find -170, under 2.5. I put a unit on that. The next one that I like for props, Miranda Maverick to win by decision at -115. I thought that was a very, very good bet, especially considering that she's entering them like almost -300 as a favorite. To be able to discount that by her to just get a decision win, which is a likely outcome for a women's fight at this weight class. I just see her as if she can mix in some decent striking on the feet, and then mostly get the control time on the ground against the cage and secure some takedowns against Sabina Mazo. I think she cruises her way to a decision. I don't see her finishing Sabina Mazo. I think maybe the reason why this is discounted in price is because, I think maybe the odds makers think that since Sabina Mazo is finished in her very, very last fight, there's some recency bias against her, and the decision prop for Maverick was a lot cheaper this time. But I think that there's a great chance that she just, does a normal game plan here, stays safe, stays in some controlled time positions, and cruises to a decision. I think Sabina Mazo is not at that much of a threat of getting finished here. Another prop that I like is, this one was interesting because I think they kind of mispriced this on, once again, Bovada Sportsbook. JJ Aldrich and Jillian Robertson goes to decision. I got a +100. I could not believe my eyes that this fight, I know that these women both have some finishes on their record, both, for and against them, but to get a women's fight to go to decision, regardless of the outcome of who wins, +100, even money. I couldn't believe my eyes that was on Bovada Sportsbook today. That was earlier, probably late this morning. So, I put a couple units on that. Just to even get a coin toss, a complete 50-50 even money, +100 pick for a women's bout to go to decision. I can't pass that up. That's almost like that Joni and Nunes fight a couple weeks ago where, it was like the over 1.5 was like minus 135 in that bout. Like, you just can't pass those spots up. Statistically speaking, a lot of women's fights go more than not, they go to decision. It's just a power difference, and that's just the way it goes. So plus 100, JJ Aldrich, Jillian Robertson goes to decision on Bovada Sportsbook. Put a couple units on that. I think that's all the props, and that's certainly enough for me. A lot of underdogs I like this week, but those Aj Fletcher and Trevin Jones are the ones that I actually felt confident enough to put money on. Sadiq Youssef, my most confident pick. He's right up there with Magomed Ankalaev as far as confidence goes. Those two guys are my most confident fighters in the card. If you want to really get degenerate and get fun with it, I think Jillian Robertson winning by split or majority decision at plus 1,600 would also be not a bad bet. I could see her getting control time positions just enough to sway two bonehead judges to, just ignore the fact that she got pieced up by JJ Aldrich. And they say, oh, well, Jillian Robertson kind of had her back for a couple rounds. We'll give her the nod to get Jillian Robertson by split decision. And this fight does scream split decision to me at plus 1,600. Not a bad degenerate bet. I could see myself sprinkling some money on there as well. So those are the best bets and props for this week. UFC Las Vegas 50. Magomed Ankalaev taking on Thiago Santos. Good luck in all your betting action. We'll see you next time.